Good afternoon or good evening, whichever part of the day it is. I guess next Sunday we're going to be changing 1 hour ahead. So everybody's coming to class 1 hour next week, huh? Early. My name is Duane Hollow Horn Bear. Born and raised here on a reservation. In growing up on a reservation here, historically, what I found is many of our people were not academically prepared to succeed in higher education. Some went, few succeeded, many came back. Said it's too fast of a world out there. They had many different difficulties, but we strive to try to hold on to some teachings that were ingrained into our lives since we were young. Particularly with all of the oppression that our people went through during the settlement of the reservations up to somewhere in after the 30s and 1940s, when the oppression, all the language wasn't so strong. But I was fortunate that my grandparents spoke the language to me, my elders, relatives that still speak the language. I speak the language yet today. What I'm going to talk about today is some history. We try not to want to put it in the historical aspect. It's a ceremonial practice of our people that should be ongoing. And what we're going to be talking about is a location in the Black Hills. Our people had great struggles in proving to the non-Indian that historically we came from the Black Hills. That was our homeland. And when we returned, our ancestors talked about how the Lakota knew where, when, and what particular ceremony they were to be doing in and around the Black Hills. Of course, we talked about star constellations that correlated with these pinpointed locations in the Black Hills. Of course, I imagine they laughed at us and they scoffed at us, saying, what do these Lakota people know about the stars? We're the ones with the big Hubble telescopes. But I believe out of curiosity, they got their astronomers to look. And those astronomers came back and said, these Lakota people are right. The sun does line up in that particular time of the year. And so we began this evening to try to express to you the one that is coming up within a couple of weeks. Right after we talk about the solstices and the equinoxes, and the spring equinox that is coming up, the first day of spring. This, I believe, was the beginning of the new year for Lakota people. It started all of our activities for preparations for a year. With the spring equinox, I brought my own children up this way as I brought them up to school. We watched the sun as it rose in the horizon, as it went to its furthest point in the south, the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And the sun, as it traveled up the horizon to a midpoint in the sky. I believe the Greek word equinox means equal. And so when it reaches this point and it travels to its furthest point in the northern horizon, and then that's the summer solstice of June 21st, the longest day of the year, and then traveling back down again to an equinox. As it travels back and forth, our people knew what activities, what festivities, ceremonies, spiritual or social, that needed to be conducted throughout the year. So as we began this journey in March, in the spring equinox, which will be taking place on March 24th of this year, we've been allowed to return into the Black Hills to do these ceremonies. So a great many people, I believe in the beginning, small groups, but it has grown large now. The schools have been bringing students, elementary, middle school, and high school, and many of our own university students attend us. And there's like you might call a pilgrimage of the individuals up to the highest point in the Black Hills. In my other classes that I instruct here, I'm always saying, let us give back to our Black Hills the proper names in which these locations were known by. And the name of the one I want to focus on this evening Hihakakapaha. Hihakakapaha, a place of owl-making location. It's so sad in our history that this location where this first ceremony of the year is done is named after an individual who wanted to exterminate our nation of people. Harney, calling it Harney's Peak. I've read in my research letters of Harney's back to the Congress where he was saying if these Native peoples fail to ratify this last negotiation with the US government, the only ultimate decision I see is to exterminate them as human beings. And then they come further on to name the special place to the Lakota after him. So I encourage our students to always let us go back and give these places the respect that is due. Hihakakapaha. This ceremony. These are constellations that are depicted in Lakota astronomy so this is a time period before the thunder beings return. This is a time period when we're going to start to hear and see Wakiya, the lightning, the thunder are going to return. The winged ones are going to return back from the south. The trees are going to start to bud. The grass is beginning to start to turn green. The beginning of new life beginning upon the earth. And so this ceremony is taken to Hihakakapaha, to the highest point in the Black Hills, to go up there and respectfully, ceremonially welcome back the thunder beings, welcome back the winged ones, welcoming back new life before we proceed into the year. And so I want to find the slides for you. The knowledge of astronomy and how it relates to the Lakota or what the star bundle keeper or a medicine man once possessed in the past. The knowledge of the stars and how they moved in the nightly sky in relationship to the people. The landforms on earth made the Lakota successful in their endeavors. Today is almost a lost way of life due to the conditions of the Lakota people. There is a great need to restore this knowledge to enhance the spiritual growth of our people. Star knowledge practice, the actual star practice was done by that keeper, and their followers were able to move it about the country, following the stars. Moreover, certain Lakota divisions were able to visit the ceremonial sites and partake in the rites at different times and places. We have 4 in particular that we are doing. One, we have brought back to our homeland here, which is the Wiwangwa Chipi in the summer solstice, the Sundance ceremony. The second one after this is one called Preshla. I'll show you on a picture of the Black Hills here. You know, every ethnic group around the world historically had a origin story, a creation story of how did things begin? Where did everything come from? Where did this world come from? Where did the stars come from? With the sun, the moon? Where did I come from? Let me share with you our creation story, kind of put it in a nutshell as I've learned it. We talk about an entity. An entity we would refer to as Ea. Ea being of power, a massive power, so powerful, so huge, so immense. Nothing else could exist. If anything else had to exist, it would have to come from Ea. So at a point in time, Ea took from itself a large portion and formed its orb, and squeezing tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until what emerged oozed out of it, leaving its blue blood and leaving a hard, brittle body. A hard, brittle body, and called it Maka, earth. But Maka existed in total darkness, questioning Ea, what is my purpose for being here? What's my reason for existence? Is there anything else? We hear stories of how Ea took other parts of itself and created Ampewi, the sun, Hawewi, the moon, Wichakpe Oyate, the stars, the galaxies, the universe, and put everything in correlation with itself. Maka was content. Eons of time went on, but at a point, Maka became disgruntled and said, when I face towards Ampewi, it becomes very hot and very uncomfortable. And when I turn to Hanwewi, it becomes dark and it gets cold. Could you give me some sort of covering to protect myself? Ea, in council with the other entities of itself, told Maka, if we give you a covering, you must promise to bring forth life and to nourish it. Maka promised. Life began. But at a point in time, life became corrupt. Senseless destruction, senseless killings. Maka said, this is not the way that life was intended to be upon me. I must cleanse myself. Now try to imagine all of these catastrophes of what we're seeing in the South today. All of these tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. This Maka, this earth, shaken so violently. Shaken and shaken. This once half landmass broke apart. And you have to excuse my drawings here, but we might say shaped the continents that we have today, separating the peoples, and life went on. But at a point in time again, life again became very corrupt. And so Maka said, I must cleanse again. Those of you that are keeping the ways of life as intended to be, come deep down inside me where I may protect you, I may cleanse. When the cleansing came forth, it came in the form of the Ice Age, changing the mountain ranges that ran east and south. If you look at mountain ranges today, you see some places it looks like a huge giant bulldozer just kind of pushed them up. And as life went on, the Ice Age receded back, leaving pockets of this area we're in today was once a huge lake. And as these began to diminish down, we have a trickster in our culture called Iktomi. Iktomi was wandering around in the southern Black Hills. And it was a time period, an era of giants, dinosaurs. Everything was giant looking. Iktomi, hearing this heavy breathing, took to hiding. But he heard no thrashing of shrubs, of trees, no footsteps, but this heavy breathing. Curiosity always seems to get the best of Iktomi all the time. So in his curiosity, he searched this breathing and found this opening called Washunie, the breathing hole. Have any of you been to what is today referred to as Wind Cave? When you were there, the park ranger held a plastic ribbon at the opening. Was the wind coming in or drawn in? Coming out? How about yourself?
It's coming out as well.
It's coming out as well? There are times when you might go there where the wind is being taken in. Iktomi peered down inside this opening and saw this subterranean species of beings living deep down in that dark hole. And so, in calling down to them, saying, come up here, I want to show you something. But they were afraid. They didn't want to come up. Iktomi says, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want you to see something. One brave young individual, which we refer to as Tokahe, meaning the very first, came forth. Tokahe pointed about saying, look out there. Look how beautiful it is. Feel the warmth of that sun. Here, eat these choke cherries. Try some of these plums. Drink some of that fresh spring water. Lay down on that soft green grass. Isn't it also wonderful? Why do you want to live deep down in that dark hole when you can come up to have all of this? He says, go and get your people. Bring them up. I have a friend. Her and I will prepare a grand feast for you. Tokai said, I'll do it. Went back down and brought the people together, talking about what he had experienced. People were a little bit reluctant. One elder, he said, Tokai, you do not know all of the danger that lurks up there. You have to be careful. Tokai said, no, I've seen it. It's wonderful. Let us make preparations to go. The elder, he's being foolish. He's being foolish. I must go ahead of time and prepare for when danger strikes. He snuck away from the group and emerged, transformed into the Buffalo Nation. When Tokai came out with the people, Iktomi and his companion, Anugite, the double-faced woman, sure enough had a grand feast for them. So they gorged themselves. They were sleeping in the grass, enjoying the spring, just having a great time. Anugite, the double-faced woman, was very, very beautiful on one side, but she wouldn't let the people see this side of her. She always kept to this side. After they have filled themselves, enjoying themselves, she turned and she showed the hideous side of herself. And when the people saw this, they panicked, they screamed, they ran back to the opening, Washunie. But their bodies had grown after consuming all of this food, drinking this water, and breathing in this fresh air. Their bodies had enlarged. They could no longer fit back into the opening. They were trapped on the surface of the world. Now Iktomi, this trickster, loves to trick people, and when he sees them in their misery, he just enjoys it. He just laughs. Iktomi was rolling in the grass just laughing. I did it. I tricked them. They're trapped on the surface. Look at them. They're in their misery. Buffalo Nation stepped forward and said, we are here for you. All that we are is for you. Every part of us is usable. So we became known as the Buffalo people, relying on the buffalo. And the Buffalo Nation has never let us down. As time went on, as we began to adopt and to adapt, time went on. But at a point, we the two-leggeds, we became overbearing, taken more than we should, taken without respect, taken without giving anything back. The four-leggeds, they cut off communication with us, the winged ones. They talked amongst themselves and says, you know, it's because of these two-leggeds that the world had to cleanse twice. Maybe this would be a better world without these two-leggeds. They talked and says, how can we get rid of them? When they talked about this, one said, we can send into them all of these sicknesses and all of these diseases that will eradicate them. So they, well, let's do it. As they were going to proceed to do so, plant life underneath them spoke up saying, it is not up to them to decide who lives or who dies. For every sickness, every disease they send into the two-leggeds, we have an herb, we have a root, a medicine. And so the balance was kept and life went on again. But at a point again, the two-leggeds become an overbearing. Creation, so what are we going to do about these two-leggeds? Look at the way they are. Oh, Buffalo Nation, you said you were going to be responsible for these two-leggeds. Look at them. What are you going to do about this? Two-leggeds said, the Buffalo Nation said, we'll take care of it. What are you going to do? You can't go to them the way you are. They're very destructive. They'll kill you. They'll eat you. They consume everything. Buffalo Nation said, we'll take care of it. So at a point in time, from the Buffalo Nation, they sent to us the white buffalo calf woman. Bring it to us, the sacred chanupa, the pipe, to remind us that there must be a spiritual connection between what's on this earth is in the universe. What's in the universe is on this earth. And we've come through time, living by way of the chanupa and following the stars and knowing what ceremonies that needed to be done in and around the Black Hills. Any questions?
So I heard recently that an Inipi is going back into the womb of the earth. Is that, or did I hear that correctly?
Many, many stories as to how this ceremony is depicted. It is a teaching place. You go there to learn. You go there to purge yourself, to cleanse yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, to cleanse yourself. We tell stories of how the infant in the mother's womb can hear everything on the outside of its mother as it's going on, whatever is going on. And so in the lodge, all of the teachings are there. Someone will share, somebody in that lodge will share something, some teachings, a story or something about that particular ceremony. For me, it's also a profound reenactment of the emergence of Washuniye, because after the fourth time, when you emerge from the Inipi, when Tokai and the people emerged, their salvation was the buffalo. And so, in a profound spiritual reenactment, when we emerge from that darkness to wetness, as we did from Mother Earth, the first thing you see out there on that altar is the buffalo skull, reminding us of that emergence from Wind Cave.
And what would the events be like?
It's just a ceremonial walk. You do it in prayer and kind of focusing on that time of the year, and it's like a short spiritual journey of your own, just doing it in meditation or in prayer, or people dialogue about it, or they just share stories in going up. There's nothing really written and put down in stone as to what's going to happen here or there. Okay, so it's a journey you partake in, and you address in your own. I guess from what I've learned, I guess I'm a spirit on a humanistic journey. One day this body is going to lie down, but the spirit that I am is going to live forever. So we focus on enhancing that spiritual journey through life here. And we've given these ceremonies to help us to address those needs. Life is hard as it is. To cope with life, we're given ceremonies. And that Inipi, the Purification Lodge ceremony, is one that when you're all feeling, all burnt out and frustrated and confused and lost and lonely, or even angry, you go into this Inipi and you deal with the very human emotions. I guess in a sense we might be cursed with having to live with emotions every day of our life, of those frustration and hopelessness feelings, anger and happiness and joy. So we deal with those emotions in that lodge and leave them in there. The rocks that are used in there are symbolic little rocks of the first and the oldest of all creation, the earth. Okay, and the water that is used in there is the essence of life. Well, everything in creation needs water. We need it, the plant life needs it, the four-legged, the winged ones, everything in life needs that.
Sorry, I'm cold. Can I see that? All right, so last time I was in a sweat. I was told that we prayed during the first seven rocks were brought in, is that correct?
Out of respect for the oldest of all creation, we refer to Toka Ayate, the oldest, the first ones. Then we remained in silence out of respect for them. But after this, after those seven are put into place, then as the rest come in, we ask questions.
Where does number 7 come from?
It's a unifier. It's a unifier. We address 4 cardinal directions, above and below, 6. So we address all the spiritual energies in that quadrant, in this one, the east, in all the directions. No matter where you stand in this world, you're going to have a center. You're going to have a direction. Okay, all 7. So the offerings that are made, the colors, the black, the red, the yellow, the white, the blue, and the green. And then the last one, the felt, the red, it's like that unifier, bringing all together. You're asking all of these spiritual energies, come and be with me for this ritual here that I'm partaking in. So the 7th is the unifier. Well, I want to thank you for letting me come over. Cheryl, thanks for inviting me.